What is this? When I returned home after a month in the hospital, my house was shrouded in an unusual atmosphere. As soon as I opened the front door, I was hit by an unfamiliar stench. Filled with a sense of foreboding, I rushed to my mother-in-law's bedroom. Despite the ongoing heat wave, the air conditioner was off, turning the room into a sweltering inferno. My bedridden mother-in-law, who needed care, was lying in bed. Carol. No. What I saw was a horrifying scene beyond my imagination. My name is Emily. I used to work as an office worker and married Steve, my supervisor at the same food company. He is 4 years older than me and has always been a dependable presence. Even after moving in with his family, I continued working in a different department. From today, this person is my mother-in-law. I lost my mother in an accident when I was in elementary school. Therefore, I subconsciously saw a glimpse of my mother in my kind and warm mother-in-law, Carol, who welcomed me with open arms. Carol, please don't push yourself. I'll handle the cleaning.
It's all right. You always cook delicious meals for me, so let me at least handle the washing up.
My father-in-law had already passed away, and until Steve got married, he lived with his gentle and humble mother. Despite her chronic illness, Carol took care of all of Steve's needs. Naturally, I took on all household chores, considering Carol's condition. However, she still helped me, worrying about me as a new housewife. Your mother is so kind. I'm really grateful.
Is she? All mothers are like that.
Steve never showed any gratitude towards his mother. Instead, he believed that it was a parent's duty to take care of their child. When our marriage was decided, Steve had said,
I want to leave this old house and say goodbye to my mom.
I was surprised to discover this side of him back then. Shouldn't you be more considerate of your mother? Carol has a chronic illness. Having lost my mother early and unable to be filial, I had some reservations about my husband, who remained a mama's boy. So, I suggested we live together after marriage. Fortunately, my father was healthy, and I had siblings in my hometown. However, Steve was reluctant to the idea, as it didn't align with his ideals. But I persisted. We can't leave Carol alone. She could fall ill at any time.
Then you take care of her. But don't neglect the housework.
Reluctantly, Steve agreed. A few months after we started living together, Carol's chronic illness progressed, and she became increasingly immobile. Walking became difficult, and she needed constant support.
I'm sorry you had to quit your job because of me. You don't even have time to relax.
Please don't worry about it. I'm healthy like my father. I have plenty of energy. To fully focus on caring for Carol, I decided to become a full-time housewife. It was a natural choice for me, as I had been like a mother to my younger siblings at home and had no resistance to caring for others. Most importantly, I wanted to help my mother-in-law, who always expressed her gratitude to me. But then,
I won't help at all. This was our agreement.
my husband brought up our prior conversation when I agreed to take care of his mother alone. Even when I was bedridden with a cold and couldn't do the housework, Steve just laughed with his phone in hand, ignoring the piles of laundry and dishes. He probably wants to rest at home since he works at the company. I had my grievances. But arguing with him would make Carol feel guilty, thinking she caused problems between us. So, I endured and handled everything alone, no matter how tough it was. However, such days took a toll on me, leading to an unexpected incident. I suddenly fell ill and collapsed while doing housework. I was rushed to the hospital for emergency surgery. Though my condition wasn't life-threatening, I was told I couldn't return home for at least a month and a half, considering preoperative tests and postoperative observation. Staying in the hospital for so long is a problem. I have someone who needs care at home. After the doctor explained my condition, my biggest concern was Carol. Being proud of my robust health, I never imagined I'd end up hospitalized. I hadn't even considered how Carol would manage without me. I was at a loss. But then, something unexpected happened.
Don't worry about Mom. I'll take care of her.
What? I couldn't help but let out a strange sound at my husband's words when he visited me that day.
What's with that reaction? You're not here, so I have to do it.
Though he sounded a bit annoyed and weary, he seemed genuinely concerned about handling things in my absence. My husband, who had never helped with care or housework since our marriage, was now taking the initiative. I had expected him to complain about managing without me. So, I was very surprised by his willingness to step up.
There are many people on maternity leave, and the workplace is short-staffed. I won't be able to visit you often, but hang in there.
Yeah. Got it. Thanks. With that, Steve left the hospital room after dropping off extra clothes and supplies, saying he still had work to do. In times of trouble, I can always count on you. Thank you, Steve. Though he was brusque, knowing I could trust him with Carol gave me peace of mind. I was hospitalized, fully understanding his busy work schedule. His inability to visit often didn't bother me. With this reassurance, I let my guard down. In hindsight, I should have questioned his intentions then, and the true nature he kept hidden. After that, my surgery was successfully completed. The postoperative recovery went smoothly, and I was able to leave the hospital about 2 weeks earlier than planned.
I didn't expect you to recover so quickly.
The doctor was surprised by my swift recovery. Excited about being able to return home sooner, I eagerly called my husband. However, no matter how many times I tried, I couldn't reach him. He must be busy with work and taking care of Carol. I decided to stop texting and surprise him by showing up at home unannounced. Steve will probably be so shocked his eyes will pop out. With such carefree thoughts, I spent the last few days of my hospital stay. About a month had passed since my hospitalization. The season had transitioned fully into summer. At that time, I was so happy to be returning to my normal life that I was completely elated. In fact, I didn't even notice that my husband hadn't contacted me once in the few days since I learned I would be discharged. Then, after a long time, I stepped onto my property again. It was noon, and the sun was shining so brightly that it was almost painful. Carol, I'm home. What? As soon as I opened the front door, I sensed something was wrong. A strange, unfamiliar stench filled the air, and a heavy atmosphere hung in the hallway. It was an unusually scorching day, yet the air conditioner wasn't running, making the temperature inside even higher than outside. It was a literal inferno. Huh? A terrible thought crossed my mind, and I rushed to my mother-in-law's bedroom in a panic. No. Carol. Carol, hang in there. But my mother-in-law didn't respond to my calls. The scene I witnessed that day was beyond tragic and has left a lifelong trauma in me. It wasn't until the next night that I finally got in touch with my husband. Steve, where are you and what are you doing? Things here are really... Suddenly, an image of Carol's smiling face when she was well popped into my mind, and I found myself at a loss for words. But my husband still seemed unaware of the situation.
Hey, Emily. I can't hear what you're saying at all.
Steve, listen carefully. Actually, Carol.
Huh, Mom? Oh, I'm on a trip with her right now.
He sounded drunk, slurring his words on the other end of the line. Carol was at home. What are you talking about? And what trip?
Oh. No. Business trip. Yeah. I'm on a business trip and wanted to tell the hotel staff about someone who looks like Mom.
He suddenly sounded flustered and continued with a stream of incoherent explanations. Of course, none of it made sense to me. Explain it so I can understand. I was getting frustrated and my tone became harsh.
Calm down. Aren't you in the hospital? You shouldn't be making a fuss there. Mom's fine. Bye.
With that, he abruptly hung up. He still seemed to think I was in the hospital. And after our call, he must have turned off his phone because I couldn't reach him no matter how many times I tried. What is he doing at a time like this? If that's the case, I have no other choice. In my desperation, I decided to contact his workplace to find out where he was. However, what? Is that really true? I was hit with another shocking revelation. The employee I spoke to seemed bewildered and asked, "You didn't know?" My distrust of my husband skyrocketed. Determined to uncover the truth, I used every possible means to investigate what had happened while I was hospitalized. And then, I discovered a startling truth. What does he mean by, "I'll take care of Mom, don't worry"? Ridiculous. I can forgive what he did to me, but I will never forgive what he did to Carol. Never. All his promises were empty words, and he had caused his mother to suffer. Consumed with rage, I resolved to take action against him. After making that decision, everything went very smoothly. Just 5 days after I filed the complaint, the police apprehended my husband, who was enjoying his vacation, and took him into custody. However, he kept demanding to see either me or his mother, causing quite a commotion. The police eventually called me, saying, "He's being very loud, so please come down." "All right, I'll be there right away." Gripping my bag tightly, I entered the police station.
Hey! What's going on here? Why do I have to be arrested?
The moment I entered the visitation room, my husband glared at me through the glass and shouted. His hair was disheveled, and his beard was unkempt. He looked quite distressed. "Calm down. We're being watched." Police officers were observing us throughout the visit. Prompted by my words, Steve took a deep breath and composed himself.
This must be a mistake. Failure to fulfill the duty of protecting Mother? What is this about?
It's exactly what it sounds like. With a sigh, I replied, and my husband, perhaps expecting me to agree with him, looked back at me in surprise. "By the way, you know about Carol now, don't you?" The scene I witnessed that day was of Carol in a state beyond recognition. The room temperature was nearly 98 degrees, the same as the outside. She was lying there in soiled clothes, completely still. The sight, the heat, and the smell etched into my mind, haunting me with nightmares for some time.
Yeah, the police kept telling me about it non-stop. It's really depressing.
How can you say such a thing?
Come on, don't get so worked up. She was alive, wasn't she?
As he said, Carol barely survived. When she was found, she was severely weakened, her body emaciated like a skeleton, barely clinging to life. When the paramedics and doctors transported her, they sternly told me, if we had been a few minutes later, it would have been too late, and what was the caregiver doing? It was clear she was in a dire state. Carol suffered alone for a long time.
That's not my problem. Besides, I had arranged for a helper.
Only once a week, right? Carol needed assistance for everything, including going to the bathroom and changing clothes. And you call that fulfilling your responsibility?
That's right.
He responded firmly without hesitation. For a moment, I felt like I was talking to an alien. When you were taken by the police, didn't you realize you had done something wrong?
No, not at all. By the way, who reported our family matters to the police? It wasn't you, was it, Emily?
It was me. And Carol herself testified when I filed the complaint. After receiving treatment in the hospital, she recovered well and was able to speak 2 days later. You, leaving everything to the caregiver and not coming home even once. Carol shared that with me. It seems my husband only took care of his mother on the first day when he brought me my change of clothes. He told her he was going on a business trip and left the next day. As a result, she had to spend all her time alone except for the caregiver's visits. She managed to move around somehow, but eventually, she couldn't get out of bed at all. Even in that state, Carol was considerate of you, saying, "It's not his fault. He said he was on a business trip."
Exactly. I was working. What? Are you saying I should skip work?
Interesting. Taking paid leave to go to a resort inn with a young woman is considered a business trip at that company. I never knew that despite working there since I graduated. As I delivered this in one breath, my husband looked at me with surprise again.
How did you?
You thought I wouldn't know? You really underestimated me. It happened when I wanted to contact my husband and called his workplace. The employee who answered the phone told me, "Steve has taken a substantial leave for about a month." I was completely unaware of any paid leave, so I was shocked and, at the same time, deeply mistrustful of my husband for keeping such an important matter a secret from his family. So, I hired a detective to track Steve's whereabouts based on the information I received from his workplace and to investigate his actions since I was hospitalized. It was soon revealed that, right after I was admitted to the hospital, my husband had applied for all his accumulated leave at once. He probably thought it would be unbearable if Carol passed away while he was away. I also discovered that he had hired a caregiver for her. If I hadn't been discharged early, Carol might not have survived. I snarled at my husband, glaring at him, but to my surprise, he showed a look of exasperation.
That's why I spent a fortune to hire a helper in case something happened. I'm not the bad guy here.
Indeed, I had heard from Carol that the caregiver who came to her was doing a thorough job. The care records were detailed and meticulous, and they even contacted my husband for confirmation. However, the real issue was elsewhere. "Steve, I heard that you ignored all the caregiver's suggestions?" It seemed that weekly visits were far from enough given Carol's condition. The caregiver had proposed increasing the number of visits, but my husband wouldn't listen and eventually terminated the contract abruptly. How could Carol possibly live alone without any help? What were you thinking? Explain yourself.
Those guys were so annoying, always telling me to do this and that. And it cost money too.
On top of that, Didn't you also ignore the caregiver's warning about the air conditioner breaking down? That's why it got so unbearably hot inside. I confirmed all this with the caregiver company. Apparently, the person in charge of Carol had been told by my husband.
I'm switching to a service that provides better care, so I'm terminating the contract with you.
So, they never imagined that Carol would end up being neglected. Steve, you did tell me. Don't worry, I'll take care of everything, right? Why did you make such empty promises?
It's no use blaming me for what's already happened. Damn, you're so annoying.
He started muttering some excuses, but I found everything he said infuriating, as it was also self-serving. And about the affair, did you really think it wouldn't hurt me?
But it couldn't be helped. After seeing you taking care of that old woman, I just couldn't see you as a woman anymore.
What did you just say? Say it again. I shouted angrily, causing the police officer standing behind my husband to tense up slightly. Sorry. I apologized for losing my temper and sat back down.
I just wanted to have a little fun. I do feel bad about it.
He muttered this without looking me in the eye, like a sulking child who had been scolded. He probably still thought he wasn't at fault deep down. But he likely realized that if he didn't say something like this, my anger wouldn't subside, and it would hurt his case with the police, so he tried to be clever. You just didn't want to deal with caregiving and didn't want to be responsible for your mother. Is that still how you feel?
I don't know.
His refusal to deny it made it clear that he was deliberately being vague to avoid conflict. At that moment, I finally gave up on him. I've come to understand what kind of person you are. I thought I could wait for you if you were truly remorseful and ready to atone for your sins, but that's impossible. Feeling foolish for having even a glimmer of hope, I pulled out the divorce papers from my bag. I'm divorcing you. And you'll pay for what you did to Carol. I'll be demanding alimony, so be prepared.
No, wait! Please don't do this!
Why are you saying this now, after everything that's happened? I couldn't understand why he was resisting when the situation was so clear-cut. I sighed deeply, utterly baffled. Steve begged.
I just wanted to have a little fun. Emily, you're the only one I love. Please believe me.
I can't stand the sight of you anymore. Don't you get it?
If you leave, who's going to take care of my mother? After all is said and done, aren't you just going to abandon her too?
Bringing up his mother at such a desperate moment, his rotten nature made me sick. Carol has decided to sell the house and move somewhere else.
What? Where is she going?
I don't know. She told me to tell you, I won't be in your way anymore, so feel free to enjoy yourself. Isn't that great? Having delivered the message Carol had asked me to convey, I began to gather my things. Thank you for your time. This meeting is over. Steve called out.
Wait! There's a trial coming up. Can't you testify that I'm not to blame? Come on, I'm sorry. Do something, please.
I have no intention of defending you, nor will I pay your bail. Reflect on your actions, I said firmly. My husband looked at me with an expression that was both tearful and angry. Steve snapped.
Why are you doing this? You're such a cold-hearted woman. That's why I cheated on you.
Say whatever you like. I never want to see your face again. As I finished, I think there were tears welling up in my eyes. Having lost a parent early in life, I had hoped that my husband and I could understand each other. So, being betrayed by him was truly painful. But that day, I was able to say everything I wanted to say. This is for the best, surely. I wiped my tears and suddenly felt like I had let go of everything. Then, without looking back at my husband, who was banging on the glass and shouting, I quickly left the room. Afterward, my husband was sentenced to 2 years in prison. While he was serving his sentence, we went through the divorce proceedings, and he was ordered to pay $30,000 in alimony as part of the divorce settlement. I heard that Steve has been constantly brooding in prison. On top of that, his bad attitude has apparently caught the attention of the guards, though I'm not sure how true that is. As for my former mother-in-law, Carol, she moved to a quiet rural town with fresh air. It seems that her health has greatly improved, likely due to all the healthy food she's been consuming. Even now, I keep in touch with Carol regularly. She's made close friends and is living a more vibrant life than before. I've obtained a qualification and started working for a caregiving company. From now on, I want to help as many people in need as possible. How did you like this story? Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I'll see you in the next video.